It's all happening from Pete, our guest tonight, KE5GGY. How are you, Pete? Good to see you, buddy.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas from Big D. How are you?
We're good. We're really good, and I'm glad you could join us. You guys have way too much fun on 3916, but one of the things that I wanted you to come on tonight and talk about are all of these things that you're doing with the Santa Claus net. How long has that been going, and how's that all working, Pete? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Bob, it's been a tremendous experience for me. First, a little background about 3916. This frequency has been some incredible nets since 1998, when a ham W4FCW was looking for a place to talk on 80 meters, and he found a not so welcome group on one frequency, and another frequency kind of told him to get lost. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to start a net and invite everybody to be there. And so that's what happened one night in November back in 98. And it was called the Freewheelers. And since then, we've expanded to a number of nets. We actually start at 7 o'clock with the Rag Chew crew on 3916. 8:30 is the Tailgaters. 10 o'clock is the Freewheelers. And Bob, as you know, because you've checked in, it's a net all about camaraderie and friendship and ham radio. Now, let's talk about SantaNet. About 11 years ago, I had a young boy at home, and I was just talking with some of the guys on 3916 on a Christmas Eve, and we brainstormed, hey, what if we were to connect our kids with Santa? You could be a relay station for my child and vice versa. And that was the humble beginning that night 11 years ago of what has grown into an annual event on 3916, where we connect good boys and girls with Santa Claus every night at 7:30 p.m. Central. So, in our first year, we probably had half a dozen kids connect with Santa Claus. This year, guys, we're expecting, well, hundreds. I think we're going to hit 600. We may even hit more. We're on pace for a huge increase. We might even have a 60 or 70% increase, thanks in large part to Ham Nation and ARRL and all the exposure we're getting from fine programs like this. So it's been a great process. And, the other thing it does, Bob, is it brings young people to ham radio. We have a number of situations where a young person came on and talked to us at age 7 or 8 on the SantaNet, and they got bit by the ham radio bug. And before you know it, the next year I'm talking to them with a license. So it's been incredible, and I don't know what else I can say except it's the highlight of our year on 3916.
Well, it's a highlight of ham radio because you can take your families there, and you can be assured that you're not going to hear some weird languages and stuff like that. The guys are really they're gentlemen. That's one thing I've always noticed about the entire group. And if anybody gets a little ruckus, why they're gone. But you do the Santa thing. Give us a little bit of information about the time and when we can tune in and bring our children and grandchildren in. Sure. and Santa Claus.
Yep. SantaNet runs at 7:30 every night, 7 nights a week, through and including Christmas Eve. So we'll be there on December 24th. Based on experience, this week is a great week to check in because starting next week, the week of Christmas, it gets pretty busy. But anytime you want to check in, we take pre-net check-ins anytime. You can send an email with a check-in to me at Kilo Echo 5 Golf Yankee at gmail.com, KE5GGY at gmail.com. You can also get on our Facebook page for SantaNet and do a pre-net check-in there. You go to facebook.com, search SantaNet, 2 words, and then look for the check-ins for that particular day. It'll be pinned to the top of the Facebook page. And let us know you're out there. Of course, leave us the pertinent information, name and call sign, location, names, and ages of your children. And with that information, we will connect them with Santa Claus. So 7 o'clock, we start getting everything going on the frequency. We start calling the relay stations to make sure that everybody is being heard. And I do want to mention the relay stations for a second, Bob. With the band being so long of late, we have put together a network of anywhere from 6 to maybe 12 stations every night that are out there listening for check-ins and relaying in the voice of Santa. So even though the band is long and I might not be able to hear somebody 10 miles from my QTH, we have the capability to get everybody connected with Santa. And to date, I'm not aware of anybody that we couldn't connect with Santa at the North Pole. So every night at 7:30 Central. And more information, by the way, at our website, which I think is on the lower third there, 3916nets.com, 3916nets.com.
Well, that's great information. Yeah, we Ham Nation is a video show as we started out, but it goes into podcasts, and so there's a lot of listeners to the show. So you want to be sure to tell them that it's net at plural, and you'll get there. One of the other things about you guys on 3916, you do a trivia thing every night. That takes an amazing amount of work. Do you do that, or who does all of that figures out the questions?
Well, I'm one of the net controls for it. In fact, up until the point Fox Central, and it's really morphed into something pretty incredible. You know, it just started one night when somebody suggested, hey, let's talk about some Andy Griffith trivia. So it started with that, and now it's a full half hour every night. So, you know, we have several sources that we use for questions, and we throw it out to everybody. If you know the answer, you give us your call sign. We try to even the playing field. We'll ask for barefoot stations to check in, and it's been tremendous. And it's kind of fun because it ends up being kind of a consensus groupthink, you know, where, and we'll get into some pretty difficult questions, and between 5 or 6 people on the net, we'll put the answer together. Now, you know, cheating, of course, is using Google or a search engine, but we can usually tell the knuckleheads that are doing that because their answers are just too perfect.
If you get the right answers, does you have big prizes like BMWs or you know, a motorcycle? You have big prizes, or are there any prizes at all?
We just refer them to Ham Nation and say you'll get something from Bob's trunk.
Yeah. Well, I listen a lot. I don't check in, but I do listen a lot. And the Andy Griffin thing, here you go. Check this out. I'll get my camera. I'll make you dizzy for a minute. You see this old guy right here?
Is that by chance the radio? Yeah, I heard it wasn't even a radio in the. Are you talking about the thing that was in the sheriff's office?
Yep, there's one above it too. I got 2 of them. Well, I have 5 of them, but that's another story.
I heard somebody told me they're amplifiers and not radios. Is that correct?
No. It's what's funny about it is they have a. This is an ICO 720 transmitter. And they also on top of it, and they change them around once in a while. It depends on the show, how old they were. But most of the time is that. Then they'll also have a CB radio that ICO made. But most of the time I'm seeing that one, and that's the ICO 720. And when you hear me on the air on AM, that's what I'm using. The modulators beside it. Andy Griffin doesn't have the modulator, but that's okay. But anyway, you know they're not hooked up to work anyway. But there's a piece of trivia for you. It's an ICO 720, and they have some kind of other microphone with it. I don't know what it is. It's a Shure, or I'm not sure. It's some kind of a different microphone. But there you go, and we'll have to check in with you and see if we can answer some of those questions for you too, okay?
Well, even better, how about this? Why don't you join us some night at 9 o'clock, and you could call a special edition of 3916 Trivia. We'll make it ham radio related, and we'll use you to challenge hams throughout the country on 3916. The invitation, consider it made tonight.
We can do it. Plus, you know, this is our 50th year for Heil Sound. I've been on the road forever with everybody from the Grateful Dead to the Who to Carrie Underwood. So I have a lot of stories there, but some of them I wouldn't want to tell because it wouldn't be right for some of the personalities. But I have a lot of fun things that we did, and we could do some of that too, because you guys do some rock and roll trivia once in a while also.
We do.
Well, we're so thrilled that you could show up and take time out of your day with the 3916 carry-ins on, and the wonderful things you do with the SantaNet. That's just really super, and I personally want to thank you for doing that. and continue on. And we'll have you back on here again. We'll bring some of the other aspects of what's going on there.
Sure. And maybe in closing, Bob, I could just throw out two invitations. First of all, obviously, if you have children or grandchildren, neighbor kids maybe that are near you, that you could bless this Christmas time by connecting them to Santa. Come on into 3916. We'll get them on the air. It'll be fun. We'll also create hopefully some new ham radio operators too, because once somebody talks to Santa Claus through all the static and the crackle and the long distance transmission, it just does something pretty special. And then beyond that, I guess I would invite anybody that maybe has I don't know how to put it, but maybe you haven't had a good experience on 80 meters, or if you haven't been able to get in with a group where you feel comfortable. We hear from people almost every day that say, you know what, until I found 3916, I just was kind of disenchanted, or I didn't have a group that I could really be part of. So Ken Odom was the gentleman. He's now a Silent Key W4FCW that founded the net back in '98. And I think his heart, I didn't know him, I never talked to him, but I kind of understand where he was coming from, because you listen to groups on 80 meters, and some of them are kind of hard to get into. But I think the heart of 3916 is that we're trying to be a place that everybody can come and be welcome. As we politics, we keep it clean, and we end up talking about ham radio. We get into great discussions about antennas, about propagation, about emergency service on radio. And in addition to that, we've got all the fun stuff we do, like trivia and SantaNet and the Wayback Machine, which is our nightly history report that we do at 10 o'clock. So it really is kind of a variety show, if you will, kind of like old time radio, where you can listen to the radio and really be part of something special.
Well, that's really great. And I want you to answer one question in going. I found this picture, and I want to know what about this picture. Tell me about this picture. Like, holy smokes.
Yeah, that's you can do a lot in pictures. Let me just tell you what that was. That was taken outside of the Salem radio stations in Dallas. I was the VP and market manager for Salem Radio for 12 years. And I had just come back from lunch, and I was eating lunch with the guy that owned the motorcycle. And I remember asking him if I could take a picture on the motorcycle, and he said yes, and I did, and I think I used it as maybe a Facebook photo. So check that out. Get your motor running. Head out on the highway, looking for adventure. Born to be wild.
Have to have you come back sometime and tell us about your radio DJ days. Those were probably really fun days too for you.
Well, Bob, you and I both got to do things we love for our entire careers, and we're both blessed. And I'm still involved in radio. I've got a couple of radio shows that air in Dallas. We're about to start a new show that's going to go into multiple markets. So I just love what I do. And my wife told me about 15 years ago I needed to get a hobby. And little did she know that my hobby would end up being an extension of what I do all day. So I'm sure she's regretted that. She's actually thankful that I haven't electrocuted myself yet. So that's
oh, great. Well, thanks for being here. We'll see you on 3916 after a while. I bet you're going to have a whole bunch of people there looking for you. Thanks
Merry
a lot
Christmas.
for all
and
you
just one more thing here, guys. Ho, ho, ho! Yep. Merry Christmas from 3916. See you on the net.